So welcome back to the Rookies podcast. We're on episode 25 now. So just quickly, I wanted to introduce myself. My name's Stefan Scholz. I'm currently interning at Cosmos as social media and marketing executive. I'm joined here today by Sam Adams, who's also interning as a digital media executive. Jack McLean, who we've also got here, is interning as account executive. Laura Shatka, who's a full-time as executive assistant and corporate services. And lastly, Evan O'Connor, who's the director of sales and services at Cosmos. So before we kind of get into the topics, today we're going to be talking about NFL, more focused on football kind of. And I just wanted to kind of break the ice with you guys. And I just wanted to get everyone's kind of background in football. So I know Sam's played, but I kind of wanted to just figure out if anyone else has kind of played at all.
Never really played. I think I tried one season when I was younger. But I was more of a rugby guy growing up. But yeah, never really on the field, just kind of really got into it, fantasy football and everything through university and high school. So that's my background, just a casual observer.
I also never played organized football or anything. Played a lot just out at the park with my friends, kind of pick up when I was younger. And other than that, I played a lot of rugby as well, growing up, or in terms of organized sports.
Never grew up playing, but as a kid, watched with my grandpa and dad always college football and NFL as well. So I was a huge fan and got into fantasy just in university and kind of continued on ever since. So, obviously a lot of offers to sign to the NFL with my arm, but had to turn that down to work at Cosmos. So here I am.
And yeah, I actually played football since I was like grade 4. So it was a lot of years, a lot of seasons. I actually played at Laurier for 4 years. Was a former offensive lineman. And yeah, I have a lot of experience. I've been watching the NFL since I was 10 years old. So watched a lot of football.
Awesome. So yeah, kind of going off of that, you guys all obviously watched quite a lot of football. So I kind of just wanted to ask who your favorite teams were.
Steelers, baby. Black and yellow. Looks like two Eagles.
I was gonna say, I think we have two Eagles fans. Got a Super Bowl. Can we see it?
Is that when you became the fan when they won, or were you a fan before that? That's the real question.
Oh no, McNabb, come on, Vic. We don't tell my
okay.
dog. We don't tell my dog about my fan, me being a Vic fan. But through the Chip Kelly days, we made it through.
Chip Kelly.
Saw
Oh,
ring. And now we're here. Carson Wentz has now moved on to be playing well for another team, even though he was supposed to be a promising pick, but still a fan. We're riding the wave.
I got Jalen Hurts. All the faith in Jalen Hurts.
Holding strong.
We have the Super Bowl now. That's all that matters. I never thought we'd get a Super Bowl. So I'm
That's
good
fair.
with whatever
Very
happens
fair.
after that.
What about you, Jack?
So I'm a bit of a homer. For that reason, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills, closest team to Toronto. And then I also do like the Green Bay Packers. Gotta love Aaron Rodgers.
Nice.
So he's gonna put up a lot of points this week.
Fingers crossed.
He's had a good year so far. He can miss 1 week.
So just jumping into our first topic here, kind of more recent, Odell Beckham released from the Browns Friday morning. So kind of just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts and where do you think he was going to sign?
Yeah, it kind of looked like a long time coming. I guess once that video came out, I think from his dad, was it, of Baker Mayfield looking him off. Pretty much the writing was on the wall at that point. It was like he was going to get moved on. They probably tried to trade him. I would imagine they tried to trade him on Tuesday, but no one seemed to want him. And now it looks like, well, he is released, but who knows where he's going. I have a couple of picks where he's going, but I'm curious to see what you guys think with him, and where do you think he's going to end up?
Yeah, his dad was grinding tape. Like, he put out a full 9-minute video of Odell being open and then Baker just missing him completely, or
Just not even
looking his
passing.
way. Yeah, not even looking his way. Like, I
Yeah.
think there's a legitimate gripe there. I don't know. We could talk about Baker a bit, but I think a lot of the players we saw in the NFL on like social media were defending Odell. And then I don't think Baker has the best reputation in the league right now.
No, LeBron was one of those who is kind of saying free OBJ. So looks like he's an acting GM now for many sports teams and players. So get him on there. But I know the Browns were, I think, working on lowering his salary cap to just save money because big contract, rather trade him than release him. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. As Evan said, there's a couple of teams I think he may end up signing with, but what are your takes, Jack?
I mean, I think he's been a pretty big disappointment in Cleveland, though. Like, the NFL is marketed around this guy so much, and he just hasn't provided the highlights to show for it in a Browns jersey. Like, when was the last time you saw him make a really spectacular catch? I know this year, his longest catch is 26 yards, and he has yet to score a touchdown. So that has something to do with Baker Mayfield? Probably a little bit, but I think that's also on him.
Yeah, for sure. He just hasn't looked the same, I think, since his injury. He just looks slower and not as explosive as he did in his Giants days. So I don't think it's all Baker's fault. I think he has some blame to take there. But that marriage was never going to last between him and Baker. It's just like there was always some like sort of tension.
So we're saying Eli Manning's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield? Is that what we're doing?
2 Super Bowls, I guess.
Producing a better wide receiver?
Eli's still not a Hall of Famer in my book. So
He beat the best, though.
Twice.
It's defense beat the best.
It's a shame, too, because I've always loved OBJ. Like, I followed him at LSU and saw big things coming for him in the NFL, and just kind of, he's obviously done well and made some great catches, but like you said, just hasn't performed, kind of, especially with the Browns. It's like, when was the last time you saw him make one of those crazy, insane, kind of just like one-handed catches that he's just known for? And he has the personality, he has kind of that status and kind of rapport with just many other athletes outside of football, and he's such a marketable player. There's obviously been controversy here and there, but it's just kind of unfortunate that the situation had to end this way. But hopefully that can be put aside in the new team that he signs with. He can have a fresh start, come off this injury, and get back to the performance that we all know he's capable of.
And so what I'm wondering, do we have another Tom Brady reclamation project on our hands here? Like, I'm thinking Randy Moss kind of thing. This might happen with Baker or with OBJ.
Are the targets there though? I don't know. Like,
well, they already have it. It's Antonio Brown. Like, it's already there. It's already in
like
Tampa.
He'd be the 4th best receiver.
Yeah, he would be.
And then you'd make like 5th best because you have Gronk there too. Like, he'd be the 5th target.
Mm-hmm.
And even OJ Howard behind Gronk. Like, there's a lot of.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, he's one wide receiver. Like, he's gonna want to go somewhere he's number 1, at least maybe number 2. So that's with Tampa. It's knowing he would be number 3, 4. He's not. I don't know if he's gonna want to end up somewhere where he's not kind of top of list receiving, right?
Yeah. Like, my prediction would be the Ravens. I think that's the best fit for him. A division opponent, so gets to play Cleveland again this year. I know there's a revenge factor. A lot of these guys that like sign. I know Deshaun Jackson did this when the Eagles released him. He went to Washington, division opponent. It feels like it always happens to the Eagles. They go to division opponents. And I think the Ravens could use him the most. They have like Hollywood Brown. He's having a good year actually, but besides that, I think they need a little more. Give Lamar some help. I think Lamar has a legit shot at MVP this year too, like the way he's playing. So get Odell in that offense. I think they can go. I think they can go far.
Yeah, I have Ravens as one of the top ones, and then again, as a Steelers fan, I'd maybe rather not, but then again, maybe I do, so maybe it won't work out at all, so it'll be perfect for me. But Packers one kind of sticks to me as well. Like Rodgers is always saying how he never gets help on the offense. Like OBJ would be a good number 2 behind Devontae. I think it could work out. I think that'd be a good spot for him.
So speaking of Rodgers, I kind of wanted to touch upon this. So Aaron Rodgers is out with COVID. So kind of wanted to see how you guys would react and how you think NFL's kind of dealing with COVID in the second year with it.
Yeah, I don't know. He's the way he's handled this is so weird. Like the way he like slyly said, "Oh, I'm immunized," when he asked if he's vaccinated early in the season. It's just like he knew he didn't want the backlash, so he said that, and now it's coming back to bite him. And I think this year has proved that you have your option. Obviously, if you want to be vaccinated, not vaccinated, that's all your personal decision. But I think it's clear in the NFL and other sports leagues, like if you're vaccinated, you have a competitive advantage over other players. And I think this is a perfect example of this playing out. Like, yeah, he's gonna have to miss this week and then maybe even next week, unfortunately.
What's funny looking back now, I think a lot of people it seemed, hindsight being 2020, it kind of makes sense now because he showed no signs he was following the protocols other unvaxxed players had to. So I don't know what was going on there. But looks like the Chiefs might be able to win a game this week, on the other hand.
Maybe. It's still a maybe. Maybe Jordan Love's the new guy here. Who knows?
Gonna say, yeah, for me, I think it's just the transparency is really key, and it's kind of a shame he had a bit of a rough start to the season. There was that kind of, everyone was a little iffy with him and kind of started riding the wave there and was doing really well and having a really great week last week. To see him kind of now hit that potentially benched and out with COVID and all this kind of media surrounding it, given that he didn't really disclose whether he was vaccinated or not, it could just throw out. Football's really big on that mental state. So you don't know how that's going to affect his game and just the team overall, the whole just news around it, getting in your head, that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how the NFL handles it. And also, he's such a big player. So I think Aaron Rodgers is treated differently when it comes to NFL, COVID vaccine mandate, that sort of thing, compared to just any other player per se.
I am excited to see Jordan Love this week, though. Like we've heard all this hype about him. It's been 2 years. He hasn't been able to even like get in a game. He's had I think 5 attempts this year, like just in garbage time. But it'll be actually exciting to see him start. I know he has a big arm. I know he's athletic. So I'm very interested. That should be a great game against the Chiefs this week.
I wonder if Green Bay can get lucky and kind of, because it went from Favre to Rodgers, right? That's a pretty good transition. I wonder if Love is going to be the one to, I guess, replace Aaron. It would be kind of crazy if that's the reason why he gets replaced. But I'm just sorry, Jack, but I'm just saying, like, if Aaron Rodgers, like, do you think he's the only one in the whole league that kind of lied about being fully vaxxed? Because there's no way. Like, there's got to be another 15-20% maybe in the league who are like, yeah, I've been immunized. So I'm curious if any more is going to come out like that.
Yeah, so you guys, sorry, Jack, I didn't mean to cut you off. You guys kind of mentioned the Chiefs, and Jack mostly mentioned how they might actually win a game. What do you guys think's going on with that team right now?
Well, I don't think we know. It's kind of crazy because it's like the exact same team. I guess the offensive line's really showing that it needs improvements. Mahomes is kind of scrambling like he's always been scrambling, but now his deflections and tips that are hitting his receivers' hands are actually getting picked off, which maybe they wouldn't happen in the last 2 years. But it's kind of unfair. They set it up for themselves. Like they probably had the best like 3-season run in like the history of football, almost like regular season at least. Like literally like offensive powerhouse, like almost guaranteed Super Bowl appearance, and now they're struggling. I think they'll get back. They'll make playoffs. They'll might be in the AFC Championship, but right now it's a tough one right now for Patty Mahomes and his brother TikToking everywhere.
Maybe a bit of karma after that whole incident kind of on the walked off memorial, but that's a whole other story. Every team kind of goes through their ups and downs, and to have a good 3 seasons there, you're kind of bound to have a bit of a downturn. But just, I think it was it Peyton Manning's reaction to that interception? It's just clear they're not the same team at all and have a bit of work to do. So it'll be interesting to see kind of just in the second half of the season what changes they make, what they do, and if they can make any sort of comeback, just do a bit better. What are they for what's their record right now? 4 for 4, were we saying? Yeah, so
yeah, 4 and 4.
Quite the shock after the last few years.
Yeah, like I think he's just trying to do too much, and I think in the end, like they'll figure it out. Like it's like those, I think they're like those like Patriots teams where like they might start off slow. Like we question like, oh, is Tom Brady done? Like, oh, is Patrick Mahomes not the same this year? But I think in the end, I think they'll go on a run here. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce just haven't, like the past few weeks, just haven't been getting it going, and they look so good to start the season. I think it's inevitable that they'll get their games going. I think they're just in a lull. I think the biggest worry is their defense, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say for sure.
Yeah, they're. But they did make a trade. They got Melvin Ingram from the Steelers, who I know hasn't been great this year. He's like getting up there in age, but they definitely needed help with their pass rush because they probably have one of the worst D lines in the league.
I think they're last in rushing yards allowed, and they're definitely like bottom 5 in defense overall for sure. But their rushing is like just Swiss cheese back there. It's not good. Ingram should help. He was only playing like 30% of snaps with the Steelers last couple of weeks, but I'll take the 6th round pick from.
Yeah, I found a stat that they're 31st in DVOA for both pass and rush, which is defense adjusted value over average. And one thing I have noticed about them as well is I think teams are more effectively game planning for them and covering against the long ball. There's the highest percentage of 2 deep safety game plan when playing the Chiefs.
Yeah, when you watch their games, like it's actually pretty funny to watch the defenses, how they line up. Like it's clearly a running play, like no matter what, and they still have 2 deep safeties like 20, 15 yards back. Like they just won't give it up. They won't let Tyreek Hill get behind. That's what defenses are doing, and it's kind of working, honestly. It's making Mahomes spend a bit more time in the pocket, and with their offensive line, he's getting pressured and getting put down.
I was going to say, I have faith in Andy Reid, Philadelphia back in the day, he'll turn it around. Beyond Mahomes and all that, he'll work out the system, like maybe find something that works, make some tweaks, and maybe they'll be back in business no time coming for the second half of the season.
Yeah, like Evan, you make a good point. Like the defense are adjusting like the way they play them, and I think like they've kind of figured it out a bit, how to take away Tyreek. They're having to do like more methodical drives, like 10-play drives instead of their quick scoring offense that like we've seen in the past. And I think eventually they'll figure it out. Like I said, I think Mahomes is just trying to do too much, like trying to play like the way he's used to playing, but defenses aren't allowing that this year. So I think they'll make the adjustments. Andy Reid is a great coach, like great game planner. I think they'll figure out a way to get this offensive going in the end.
All right, so just kind of touching upon the past topic, we talked about Odell Beckham and how he was released. So I know you guys were having quite a long discussion of this before we got started, but just wanted to touch upon the NFL trade deadline. Like, what does this mean for Odell, and what are your guys' thoughts on it?
It's more like with a lack of the NFL trade deadline, I think, really. Like it's kind of surprising how, like, not just Odell, like it's like Allen Robinson on the Bears. Like I'm pretty sure he has an expiring contract, and I don't think the Bears are making playoffs. So, and I doubt he's going to want to come back there unless they just like pay him crazy. So essentially, you're losing a pretty good receiver that could probably get you a pretty good pick in the upcoming draft, and he's just going to walk for free. It's kind of wild. There's definitely a lot of other examples there. Like I think Brennan Cooks on Houston was another one that was looking to get moved. Um, it's just surprising. Like pretty much every other trade deadline, like NHL, MLB, NBA is massive. Like it's a full, like there's full like station. Like at TSN does a full day of it, full coverage. And I think there was what, like 3 trades. Like Von Miller's pretty big, but it was just that, like it was very quiet, which is surprising. The NFL being such a big powerhouse and huge entity, that's such a quiet day for them. I just find it very surprising. I don't know what I'm missing. Maybe Sandy have more detail on that.
Yeah, I think it's like clear that like GMs do not want to give up picks, especially high picks. And then I think other GMs are just overvaluing their players. Yeah, the Allen Robinson thing, I don't understand at all. There's no way he's coming back to the Bears. I think he's made it pretty clear he doesn't like the situation, and this season he's been nowhere to be seen. And I don't know if that's his fault or Matt Nagy's offense, but I think Matt Nagy probably going to be gone this year. After this year, I don't know how he made it last year. Somehow they got in the playoffs, but I think it's clear like the Rams are the only team like actually willing to like give up high picks on the trade deadline. Like they did it last year with Jalen Ramsey. That paid off for them. Didn't in the end, like, but I think getting the number 1 quarterback was worth it. So I'm be interested to see like how the Rams do, and like in the future if more GMs are willing like to spend more at the trade deadline, like get one of these top players like Von Miller, like a Jalen Ramsey. But I think it's just like GMs don't want to risk it at this point.
That's the thing. And it's crazy how, just as you said, there's not much done compared to other sports. And what are your guys' takes? Do you think it's because the whole team chemistry, or it's hard to kind of bring in a new kind of, let's say, wide receiver, running back, get them kind of into the team, working with the quarterback, kind of just get that chemistry going? Or why do you think it's so different from other sports? I guess, Sam, especially you kind of growing up playing football, playing for Laurier, what's your take on why it is so drastically different from hockey per se, or why it kind of flies under the radar, besides some of those big moves like Von Miller and just him leaving obviously the Broncos, it being very emotional, but also very exciting because now he kind of, has the potential to get Super Bowl ring, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's about like the preparation. It's like so hard in like football, like compared to other sports. There's so much like mental you have to learn, and like the short at the trade deadline is such a short period of time, and like to get acclimated with the team, especially for the offensive players. I think we see a lot more defensive players getting traded the trade deadline, especially for those high picks. I think because it's easier to fit into a defense midway through the season compared to offense. You just don't have like, especially if you're a receiver, you don't have that like chemistry with your quarterback. It's hard to build that. That's why training camp is so important. So I think these teams would rather just do all their moves in the off season rather than midway through the season and then have a player not work out, because we've seen it so many times where like the Eagles example, they traded for Golden Tate in 2018, and they gave him like a 3rd round pick for that, and that like failed miserably. He did nothing, and then he just walked at the end of the season. So yeah, I think it's just hard for especially offensive players getting into a system.
It seems like such a loser's mentality though. Like you're not making this trade because you're scared it might not work out. What if it does? Like what if Allen Robinson went to the Packers or the Ravens? and he was just a stud. Like, what if it worked out well? Like, it's almost like you're conceding to the Rams at this point. It's like, oh, Rams, yeah, you guys can stock up. We'll just kind of exist and get pumped by you guys in the playoffs and not do anything to try and compete. Yeah, I don't really get it. It's kind of weird to me.
I was going to say, do you think there's a solution to that problem to kind of just make it work better so you kind of get bang for your buck? Like, you're wasting almost so much money or just having players walk like that when you could build a team or get value and make a trade rather than, I don't know, it blows my mind just how the kind of whole system works.
And stop being a wimp and take a risk. Like, man, it's crazy.
One move I thought was good was Mark Ingram to the Saints. Obviously a smaller trade, but he played 8 years with them with Sean Payton, so he knows the offense already. He has an idea of how the system works, so maybe that's one that could work out a little better.
I think one thing that will be interesting, actually not really a trade, but just with kind of Derrick Henry being out, seeing how Adrian Peterson steps in and that works out for the Titans and just the chemistry there, because that'll be an example of how someone could step in and react and have that chemistry with a quarterback coming in mid-season, given that injury, because as we all know, Derrick Henry is a beast, to say the less, in big shoes to fill. Obviously Adrian Peterson has had successful seasons, fairly good. He's played many years, many decent seasons with a lot of teams, but huge shoes to fill. So to come in and mid-season and be able to fill some sort of void, obviously they're top of their division, pretty much guaranteed to make playoffs. You don't know. They say he might be back for playoffs, but definitely out for the season. So just kind of seeing him come in and what goes on there and how that works out, it could maybe be foreshadowing a way to have more trades in the future, and it could be an option. I don't know.
That's why it's so crazy to me. Like, how does Tennessee not trade for Marlon Mack? Like, Marlon Mack is right now 100% better than Adrian Peterson, and you could get Marlon Mack like a 4th or a 5th round pick and still sign Adrian Peterson.
Yeah,
like it's crazy. Like you said, they're top of the division. Like, you're gonna want to get used to it. You have some games leeway. Maybe it doesn't work with Mack, but why does it work with Adrian Peterson? He's been sitting on his couch for the last 8 weeks. Marlon Mack's been playing and practicing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I hope maybe next year there's going to be a record-breaking amount of trades and we're all going to be wrong. So who knows what's going on.
All right. So Laura kind of touched upon it, and we did talk about COVID, but there's also there's something else I kind of want to talk about is injuries. So we've got big names like Zach Wilson, Prescott from the Cowboys. The Giants have a huge list of injuries. The Patriots have a huge list of injuries. Do you guys think like this is having a huge effect on these teams or what?
Well, on the teams, and I've definitely say on everyone's fantasy football teams as well, to say the least. But yeah, football's just one of those sports. It's so unpredictable. You go in every season thinking someone's going to have a amazing blowout, crazy successful year. Then week 1, injury out of nowhere. Like George Kittle, for example, is that just, what was it, what week did he get injured? 4, was it?
Week 4.
Week 4, and now he's just coming back, potentially back this week. I think I'm checking right now. He's supposed to be back this week. Oh, I only know because I picked him up because my
I think he's practicing, so he should be back. But
so
yeah, it's like football.
Like
you're saying it's unpredictable, or it's actually like the most predictable thing. It's 100% injury sport. Like, everybody's gonna get hurt throughout the year. It's just a matter of fact if you're gonna miss games or not. Like, it's crazy. Like, running backs take an absolute beating every single game. I think the practices, they finally learned to kind of lay off a bit. They do like no pads in practice, I think. But yeah, it's always been 100% injury sport and something you have to prepare for. I think that's why maybe a lot of parents aren't really putting their kids in football anymore because of how rough it is. It's crazy, but yeah, it's just something that teams have. That's why the rosters are about a 53-man roster. There's a lot of bodies to go through. But yeah, there's always going to be injuries, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon because there's major injuries even before the season starts. Like people are blowing out their Achilles and ACLs in training camp. Like it just happens. It's just how it works.
You say there's a lot of injuries in football, which obviously there is, but I'm more surprised at the amount of quarterbacks that are out right now injured.
And they're trying to protect the quarterbacks, right? Like anytime you touch a quarterback, you get a flag.
Yeah.
But quarterbacks are going down every single week. They're getting rolled up on. They're still getting rocked. Yeah, they're just a bunch of fragile fellas.
I'm gonna say, if you look at Myles Garrett's Halloween costume and his cape of quarterbacks he sacked, just prime example. It's one of those sports, high contact, right?
Yeah, it was nice when he wore that and lost to the Steelers. It was beautiful. We didn't have a kicker.
It's just, yeah, it's you. I guess Sam, you can probably more so testify, but when you're in the middle of playing, it's not like you really know how exactly you're going to hit someone or know how they're going to go down, right? So it's so unpredictable, but once you have the injuries, you don't know how long you're out or how the body heals. And like you said, that's why you have such a huge roster, because you need those guys. It's crazy. And just how insane the level of injuries, the seriousness, just unpredictability. It's a tough sport to be in for sure. And not only the physical side, but the mental side, those injuries take on you as well.
Yeah, like for the quarterback, like the roughing the passer like rule, like how you're not allowed to put force into the quarterback into the ground, like I think is ridiculous. As like when I played defense, I would never be able to control my body in that way. I don't know how guys do. And like we see like quarterbacks getting out of sacks now because guys don't want to get the 15-yard penalty, give an automatic first down. Like but I understand where the NFL is coming from with that rule. Like they're trying to protect their stars. Like without quarterbacks, unfortunately, like the NFL is not a good product. Like if we had like 10 quarterbacks injured right now, the product would not be the same. Less people would be watching. Like, so I understand it from a business standpoint. They're trying to protect their assets, but as a defensive player, it's impossible to play defense nowadays with the
frustrating to say the least, eh?
Yeah. So
like you're working your butt off to try and get past an offensive lineman, and then you have to slow up to hit the guy you're trying to hit anyways. Like before, it's like you wanted to like almost kill the quarterback. That's kind of was your goal as a defensive lineman coming off the edge. But now it's like you just have to like push him down. It's very different.
Yeah, and you can't touch the head. You can't go below the knee. Like it's a very limited.
You have like that much room to hit him. I think that's about it.
So I think a lot of more guys are like going for strip sacks now.
So it's going to turn into flag football soon. Seriously.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me to the next topic I kind of want to discuss. You were talking about some rules that are a bit strange in your eyes, being able to actually play football and understand the game. But one of the ones I wanted to discuss was the crackdown on the taunting penalties, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like me being a big soccer fan, part of the game is the celebrations. Like you see those minor taunting kind of gestures, but like it's part of the game, right? Like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
I totally agree. I think it's part of the sport. It's such a part of the entertainment product. Like trash talking is part of football. And also I think this is something that came from the competition committee, the NFL competition committee, which is coaches, owners, GMs. This didn't come from the fans. I think the fans like it.
Oh yeah. Like I think there should be more taunting in football. Like I think you should be rewarded for taunting instead of penalized. Makes the game more fun as a fan. Like you want more viewers. Like people are complaining about this like every week on social media. You see it. And like they're called the No Fun League for a reason. Like, and like a couple of years ago, they like allowed for more celebrations in the end zone. And then so they take one step forward, and now they do this. They take one step back. But I'm hoping they change it after they see the backlash. Like it's the same with like the reviewable pass interference, when coaches could challenge the pass interference call. Like they changed that the next year, because it's ruining games sometimes, like especially in like the fourth quarter when someone gets a taunting penalty just for like making a hit and then standing over a guy or just like saying something. It's ridiculous.
Like who was it? CD Lamb last week. He had like a massive catch or whatever big play, and he like waved at the guy. Like these guys are literally murdering each other on the field, yet you can't go have like a little bit silly when you blow someone up or like you burn a guy in a play. Like it makes no sense. Like it's kind of like you said, like it I feel like it's going to be out pretty quick. I don't see it sticking around for too long, or they're just kind of like ease out of it. But yeah, I think it's not fun. No fun league is definitely correct.
Yeah, well, like the NFL is very reactionary. So like I believe this penalty came because in the Super Bowl, I think it was Antoine Winfield Jr. did the peace sign to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, because Tyreek has been doing peace sign like that. I think that's awesome. Like you got him back. Like that's the point.
Exactly. That was a great moment. Like, but like these old heads in NFL like want to protect the game or whatever. But yeah, they're very reactionary. They did the same thing with the pass interference after that Saints-Rams game when they missed that call. They made it reviewable. Next year they just got rid of it. So hoping for the same for this penalty.
It's crazy because it's like little things, like even just like you like flexing on something like, oh, there you go. Or it's the little things, right? And it takes the fun, as we said, for sports fans in the crowd. It's like you see that it fires everyone up. It just like brings the atmosphere up. And for all of us working in sports, like selling for UOC, selling tickets, stuff like that, that's the experience you want fans to have, right? Is that engaging atmosphere, seeing the players having fun and just getting into it. It's like that's what we're all there for, especially in the sport of football. Like a lot of people go to tailgate, have a great time on a Sunday, Thursday night, or a Monday. Like you go there for the atmosphere, and the players are part of building that, and part of that does involve just like getting fired up. And when you're playing a sport, you get competitive and you kind of are like in your face type of thing. And the fact that it's even a little tiny gesture that is a peace sign or flexing is can be like a $5,000 fine per se, or you do 2 of those and you're kicked out of the game. And it's getting kind of ridiculous. So hopefully they loosen up a bit, because it's just getting to the point where it's like, come on now, some changes need to be made. Like I get where they started to get cracking down a bit on the celebrations in the end zone, where they were getting a little too extreme and some players were taking it.
No, they were great. More celebrations. I want it all.
Right? I'm like, I'm trying to be, play devil's advocate, both sides. Trust me, I loved the end zone celebrations. What was it? Zeke jumping into the pot. I think
Salvation Army.
I think he got fined for that one. Juju always going off in the end there. I think a bunch of other Steelers were great for all of those celebrations, but I love that whole atmosphere. But hey, I wish they'd bring it back. I see the sportsman like conduct that they want, but I think they don't need to bring it to this point.
All right, so sorry to cut you guys short. We're nearing the end here. So last week we kind of did some NHL predictions with our podcast. I wanted to do something fairly similar to end this session off. So I kind of wanted to focus on the midseason awards. So the first one, I'm just going to go through each of you guys. So if you guys just want to just wait for me to ask the questions, I'm just going to go through Evan first. I think I'm going to start with. So if you could give a midseason award, who would you think is the best team so far?
We talked about them a bit so far already. I'm going to go with the Rams, mainly because I actually like them, that they trade picks and try to get better every year. So, and they honestly look so good. Stafford looks money. Cooper Kupp's been a machine. They just got Von Miller. He's going to be nice beside Donald and Jalen Ramsey. So they're my favorite right now for the Super Bowl. And yeah, they've looked like the best, most complete team so far this season to me.
For sure. What about you, Sam?
As much as I hate to say this as an Eagles fan, I think the Cowboys have looked the best this season. The number one concern was their defense, always the past few years, but I think they've really answered those concerns. Trayvon Diggs is playing amazing. Their D-line's not the greatest, but like Micah Parsons came in as a rookie, and he's looked like the best defensive rookie of his class. And like Kellen Moore, their offensive coordinator, I think he showed it last week, like playing Cooper Rush. Like he can.
The 22-year-old offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
he looks like a baby out there, eh?
Yeah, he's got a baby face.
Yeah.
He was just in the league like 5 years ago, but I think he'll be a head coach in the league soon. And yeah, I hate it, but it's the Cowboys for me.
I know it's hard not to be biased, so I'm glad you weren't. But Jack, go ahead.
For me, it's got to be the Packers. After all the offseason drama with Aaron Rodgers, he just returned with a vengeance. And after that huge statement win against the Cardinals last week, that's got to be the Packers.
Awesome. Laura?
I'm gonna have to go with the Bills. Josh Allen looking pretty good, and with kind of Tom Brady leaving the AFC, he kind of is leading the Bills to be first up there, and he's, I'd say, at least an elite quarterback and can lead the team, and they're looking pretty good. So they went pretty far last year, so who's to say they're not going to go far this year, and would love to see a Super Bowl ring come kind of close to home up here in the North. So I'm going to go with the Bills.
I'm very shocked that Laura didn't pick the Eagles.
You know what? I gotta love the Eagles, but respect.
Because she watches them play. That's why she didn't pick them. So
hey, last week we went off. I will take it. Granted, it was the Lions. I will take it. We're gonna leave it there. We're just
take your win. Take your win. Move on.
All right, so bringing it back to Evan, the next question was best out of nowhere team.
This one hurts me too, being a Steelers fan. I have Cincinnati, divisional team. They've looked really good. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase looked nice, and sneaky good defense. I was actually pretty surprised how their defense looked this year. So they're looking at 5-3 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the division, to be honest. They look pretty complete right now, even though they lost to the Jets.
What about you, Sam?
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick the Chargers. Like some might say they're not out of nowhere, but I think overall, I think that they can make a run in the playoffs. I love Justin Herbert. He's looked awesome. Like his receiving targets. Mike Williams is having a great year. He's going to get paid this offseason. He's a free agent. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. I think the only worry about them is their run defense, but I think they can make a run. They're winning the division right now because I don't know, they're behind the Raiders in the division, but I think they can take over. And maybe even be ahead of the Chiefs come the year end.
What do you think, Jack?
I got to go for the Bengals as well. I guess maybe kind of the obvious choice, but I mean, what a season Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are having. And then also, I mean, their defense has been amazing. The three linebackers have just been killing it for them. So yeah, it's going to be the Bengals for me.
And Laura?
Yeah, I have to go with the other three here. It's also the Bengals. What can I say? They kind of just came out of nowhere. It's like was not expected at all. They're kind of known just not really for being the greatest, and have never really kept my eye on them. And then all of a sudden kind of popped off. Joe Burrow is looking great. So I think pretty much as three of us picked them, they're quite the obvious choice.
All right. So for this next one, it's kind of a three-parter. I want you guys to name what you think is the top rookie quarterback, the top rookie non-quarterback, and who should be MVP for the midseason. We'll start again with Evan.
All right. Top rookie quarterback, I think goes without saying, is clearly Mike White from the Jets. Guy put up 400 plus yards against our out of nowhere pick Cincinnati Bengals. And I think he's just the one and done. He's not coming back the rest of the year. I think he hurt his hand or something last night. So he's going to live on forever as the best rookie quarterback of this season for me. Non-rookie quarterback, I would go with Jamar and Najee, but I like the defense of Micah Parsons on Dallas. I know Sam mentioned him earlier. He's been a machine. He's played already defensive line and linebacker this year, and he honestly looks better as a defensive lineman. Even though he was drafted as a linebacker, so he looks really nice. And then MVP, because it's mid-season, I can go Derrick Henry. I know he's hurt now, but up until his injury, he was clear-cut number one. Just a machine out there, couldn't be stopped. So I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, for my top rookie quarterback, I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence. I know Jaguars look awful, but I'm not putting that blame on Trevor Lawrence. I think he's in a pretty terrible situation right now. I think it's hard to choose right now because all the quarterbacks honestly have not looked the greatest. Like some might say Mac Jones has looked the best, but I think he's in the best situation. He's not asked to do as much as some of the other ones. So yeah, I'll go with Trevor Lawrence. For non-quarterback, I'm going to give some love to all the big men out there. I'm going to go with the offensive lineman. I'm going to go with Rashawn Slater from the Chargers. He's a starting left tackle. Chargers offensive line has been awful for like the last 5 years now, and I think he's given them a lot of stability, and he's playing like one of the best left tackles in the league right now. And then for MVP, I'm going to go with Matt Stafford. He's putting up some crazy numbers this year, and I think the Rams are just going to continue to do that. Cooper Kupp's going off. So yeah, I'll go with Matt Stafford.
Alrighty, I guess I'll go next here. I would say that you can't blame Mac Jones for being in a good situation, and he's having a hell of a year. So I'm going to have to go with him. He gets the ball out quickly, and he seems to be able to perform well under pressure. Additionally, the sky is the limit with Belichick. So it's Mac Jones for me. In terms of a non-quarterback, I got to go with Jamar Chase on the Bengals. He is having a historic season with 786 yards so far this year. So it's got to be him. And then my MVP is also going to be Matthew Stafford. It's pretty amazing what he's doing, especially coming into a new team with a new system. And the Rams are looking amazing. So yeah, Matt Stafford for MVP for me.
Yeah, so I guess for me, the top rookie quarterback, I'm going with also Mac Jones. So I know got the kind of first 7 games looking a little but he completed 24 for 36 passes for 307 yards with 2 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions in that one game against the Jets. So the first 300-yard effort for Jones's NFL career gives him 1,779 passing yards through 7 games, and he ranks 4th in the NFL among qualified passers with a 70.4% completion rate. So I had to look up stats.
Laura coming with the stats. Here we go.
Right, I know, because I'm like, I heard it somewhere. Another Pats fan that I know was like going off, being like, well, he's going to be good. So I'm like, wait, I need to look this up. So I looked into the stats and he was right. So as much as I like to hate on the Pats, hey, I'll give him my top rookie quarterback award. So non-rookie quarterback, I'm going to have to go with Najee Harris. Always love him. Stiff arm that 1 week, I think, were they playing the Raiders week 1? Just to the...
He's a beast.
Yeah, just no words. Like insane. I think he won October's he's just nuts. He's insane. Ran 88 times for like 356 yards, something like that. He's nuts. But my MVP goes to, also hard for me to say. I can't even get the words out. It's so hard. I'm giving it to Dak. After last season, the Cowboys, as much as I enjoy hating on them, Sam knows, division rival, but tough year last year for him, and just the storyline coming back, being able to kind of step into that leadership role, even though he's kind of dealing with some injury stuff right now. He's been great. He's been doing an amazing job, and kind of just seeing, I think there is a article or post or something, he kind of has something written on his arm just about like mental health and promoting that. I just think all around, beyond the sport aspect, he's just stepping into that role for the NFL, to just beyond playing and being a great all-star. Wow, that was, words aren't working there. Being a great just talent for the league, team, Cowboys, all around. He's MVP on and off the field. There we go.
Amazing. So just to end off with this last question, we obviously can't leave our defensive players out. So this last one, Evan, is just defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to this Cowboys defense. Kind of really surprised me here. I'm going back-to-back Cowboys pick here. Trayvon Diggs is my pick. I would give a very good honorable mention to TJ Watt, being my Steelers, but Trayvon Diggs, he's just been an interception machine. I think he's at 7 picks already, 2 of them for touchdowns. Teams are just going to stop throwing his way, but right now he's my defensive player of the year.
Yeah, for me, shout out to TJ Watt. I was up between Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, but I'm going to go with Myles Garrett. He's on pace for over 20 sacks this year. He has 10.5 right now through 8 games, which is pretty crazy. TJ Watt's right behind him. But I think Myles Garrett overall is the best defensive end in the league right now. Against the run, rushing the passer, I think it's pretty clear. And have you guys seen the pics of him like off the field? Like, it's ridiculous. Some of the pics, they don't look real.
His arms are so big.
Yeah.
Like I think it was 2 games ago, he played without sleeves for the first time.
Yeah.
And then he got like a random steroid test or substance test at the very next second we went in the room. So yeah, that guy is like a freak, and he's so fast for how big he is. He's a machine.
Yeah, his arms look inflated. They've been blown up. But yeah, the only thing that worries me is how well Cleveland's going to do the rest of the year, because I think defensive player usually goes to like a top team. But yeah, I think he's leading the league in sacks. I think he's been the best pass rusher this year.
For me, I'm going to go with the incumbent Aaron Donald. He's having an awesome year, and I think he's just he's going to repeat again for sure. And with Von Miller coming in there too, I think it's going to make him look even better.
I know 2 of you guys passed on TJ Watt, but I'm going to go with TJ Watt, and 5 games, he has something, I think I might be looking at some later stats, but he's kind of on track. He has some odds at winning defensive player of the year this season. So, hey, I've always liked him. The Watt family producing some pretty good players. So I'm going to go with TJ Watt. Take someone from your team, OC.
Amazing. A lot of variety there. All right, so just a final question for you guys. Just kind of want to bring it to the Super Bowl 2022. So just some predictions. I wanted to ask you guys, who do you think is going to play in the game? And who do you think is going to win it? We'll start with Evan.
All right, I got Jack's Bills will be representing the AFC, and they'll be playing the home team of the LA Rams. They're hosting. They're going to do what Tampa Bay did last year, playing in their own building, and they're going to smack them around and take the dub. So I got Rams over Bills at home.
For me, I have the Ravens representing the AFC. I know OC doesn't like that pick. But I think, and like Lamar has not looked great in the playoffs these past few years, but I just think this is the year that he puts it all together, especially if they get Odell. I think their offenses look great. They've gotten like random running backs off the street. Like they've signed like 4 free agent running backs this year. They can plug anyone into that offense and they'll produce rushing yards no matter what. So I got the Ravens, and then for the NFC, I have the Rams. I think adding Von Miller just takes that defense to the next level. They're number 1 in sacks this year, and then now you're adding Von Miller. I know he's a little older, but I still think he'll produce, especially next to Aaron Donald. But in the end, I'm going to pick the Rams to win it. Or sorry, the Ravens to win it, actually. Lamar's going to get it done this year.
Final answer? You sure about that? I'm not even sure you know.
No. I just RA got me messed up, but Ravens for sure.
Fair enough.
Got to get some money on it. Jack, what do you think?
So you guys can call me biased, but I don't care. I've got my 2 favorite teams in the Super Bowl, the Packers versus the Bills, and Aaron Rodgers is going to get it done. It's going to be the Packers. And I also want to say I am very excited for the halftime show this year. You have Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem representing their hometown, LA, playing. I think it's going to be really, really good. So wanted to throw that in there as well.
Yeah, unreal halftime show, and like for that reason I'm really hoping that it is the Rams who kind of make it and play at home, just because that would be kind of incredible to have that there. And my other pick would be the Bills. I'm really torn. I don't know if I see it kind of going to Buffalo. I think I'm going to go with Buffalo. Do you know what? I have my hopes. We're going with Buffalo. It's Buffalo's year, but Rams and Buffalo for sure, I think, are going to be the top 2. It's really close. In the back of my head, like my gut is telling me it will be the Rams, but I'm going with Buffalo.
No love for Tom Brady in any.
Yeah, we just confirmed Brady's winning it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Brady, no love for Brady anyway. Brady, like he's the GOAT, but he has to the reign has to come to an end.
He's washed.
If you only ever bet on him winning Super Bowl every year, I think you'd be very profitable in your sports betting. So it's hard to go against him, but we all just did. So we're screwed.
All right, awesome. And I think that about wraps up episode 25 of our Rookies podcast. Sorry. I first of all want to thank you for joining me today. It was great to hear all of your inputs. And I also want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in, and hopefully see you guys on the next one.